Hey guys, Jonathan here, and today we're comparing two different LEGO Age of Ultron Avengers Quinjet sets. Of course, the original came out with Age of Ultron back in 2015, and there's a brand new one in 2025, so there's been a decade of improvement, and man oh man is there a lot to compare and contrast here. Now, the 2015 one retailed for $79.99 with 722 pieces. At the time, that's a pretty good price-to-piece ratio, but if we account for inflation, that set would be $108 today with 722 pieces. Of course, we did get a very cool side build of the truck with the Vision cradle in the back, and this set included 5 minifigures, 2 of which were exclusive, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the 2025 one retails for $130 with 1,131 pieces, and once again, an equal amount of minifigs at 5, and 2 of those are exclusive, so it's remarkable how the minifigures kind of mirror each other in terms of value and exclusivity. And it's kind of interesting, too, that the prices aren't all that far apart, adjusting for inflation. With the original being $108 today and the new one being $130 today, but the new one is just shy of double the piece count. So it is really fascinating, and honestly, this is one of the comparisons I've been the most hyped to make this year. So let's get right into it. So for comparing the minifigs, I do think the best place to start is with Iron Man. He had a major upgrade from 2015 to 2025, but of course, this figure actually debuted last year in 2024, so when it's all said and done, this figure will have a longer shelf life than the original, which is kind of interesting. Of course, the original uses the classic style Iron Man helmet, where we could open the front and see Tony's face beneath, and of course, that feature is still on the new version, but it's a little bit more of a rounded helmet, whereas the original one has a little bit more of a boxy feel to it. Personally, I'm still a bigger fan of the original style of helmet versus the new one, because I think it looks better from all angles, whereas the new one, granted this one is one of the better examples, but it can look a little bit flat on the helmet from certain perspectives. That being said, both heads for Tony have a reversible angry face, but of course the newer, more modern one has the HUD, and this head on Tony has been used since I think like 2019, maybe even 2018 if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, still great heads for both figures. Now, the torso and legs are representing the same armor, but the 2025 one uses that very bright red color scheme in the center, and some days I love that, some days I don't. But that being said, the original 2015 one I always love, and I think it's aged really well. I think the detail on the more modern version is a lot stronger, but there's a certain charm about that 2015 one that's aged right. What I'll say is, I bet that if you were collecting Iron Man minifigs back then and have nostalgia for the old style, that probably does add some points for you, and I'm willing to admit that bias myself. But if you're just getting into Marvel now, you're probably looking at the new one and being like, oh my gosh, it's so much better. But let me know what you guys think of that in the comments. Now, when it comes to comparing the Black Widow minifigures, this is a very difficult comparison because the Age of Ultron Black Widow is my favorite Black Widow minifig to date in terms of Scarlett Johansson's likeness. So I think that this one is definitely the superior of the two because the one that comes in the 2025 Quinjet is using the 2012 Avengers style torso and legs. Literally, on shelves right now, we have the Age of Ultron slow-mo set that has a version of the Age of Ultron Black Widow suit, so there really wasn't an excuse for LEGO to use this torso and leg combo, and it's very perplexing. That being said, the original 2015 has a unique head that was only used on the Scarlett Johansson likeness Black Widows back in the day, whereas the head on the 2025 is the same head we've been getting for Black Widow since at least 2018. And that head debuted, I think, on Jyn Erso from Star Wars and has just been used on so many female characters, it's kind of feeling generic and phoned in at this point. But that being said, the difference in accessories, of course, the new one has her light-up batons, and the original has these blasters, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'd say there's no competition on Black Widow. The 2015 one outshines the new one in every single way. For our next comparison, we'll have Captain America from 2015 and Hawkeye from 2025. The reason I'm pairing these two together is because both of these figures have appeared in other sets, so they kind of bring the same value to the table, right? Captain America came in several sets back in the day, 2015 and 2016, because they used the same design for Civil War the following year, and of course this Hawkeye came out last year in the Avengers slow-mo Age of Ultron set, so really they bring about the same value to the table. table, like I was saying. Of course, it's really sad to me that Captain America has never gotten leg printing in a retail set as of this video. That is Steve Rogers' Captain America. And of course, Hawkeye is really great with toe printing, hip printing, and leg printing. I've never really dug the generic Star Wars head they've put on Hawkeye for all these years, and of course there's no printing on the back of Hawkeye's head, but him getting the quiver and the bow and arrow for accessories are really cool. One thing about this scene, though, Hawkeye is actually sleeveless while piloting the Quinjet, so he's technically inaccurate, but I get why LEGO didn't do it, and it's an easy enough fix. We could just swap those arms out on our own, but it is worth noting when we're talking about accuracy and likeness. So for similar reasons, I'm pairing the 2015 Vision with the 2025 Quicksilver, because both of these minifigures are exclusive to their respective sets and are a huge draw for getting the set in the first place. An interesting thing to note about Vision is the blue gemstone in his head. Of course, we know from the movie and all the other toys that the Mind Stone in his head is actually yellow, but this was based on concept art at the time, and so it actually was blue in this set only. So this figure is doubly exclusive for that reason. Of course, we'd get another Vision 2 years later in the Infinity War Wakanda set, and even the next year in 2016 from the Captain America Civil War Tanker Truck Showdown. So Vision isn't exclusive per se, but this version of him is with the blue gemstone. Obviously, I love the cape on this. It's a very interesting, it's not like spongy and it's not papery. It's kind of its own like cloth material, and of course the torso and leg print is immaculate on this, whereas Quicksilver doesn't have printed legs but has an unbelievably printed torso with some silver reflectiveness in there on the front and the back. The head is an absolutely awful choice, though, because Quicksilver has kind of like a dark beard in this movie, and it's certainly not like the reddish-brown used here. And, of course, the head has an angry face on the alternate side, but I don't think that this looks like Aaron Taylor Johnson at all, and I think it's a really, really bad choice for the figure. I really wish that we could have got a new head here. It would have brought more value to the figure's exclusivity, but regardless, it is what it is. And that white hairpiece does work really, really well. It's just the face that throws me off. So of these two, I think that Vision is far superior. Now that brings us to Ultron, and I talked about the figures being exclusive earlier in the video, and the reason this Ultron from 2015 technically isn't exclusive is because they also used him in the limited edition San Diego Comic-Con exclusive set that year. Considering only 1,500 of those exist, and very few people on planet Earth are going to own that set, I still consider this minifig exclusive to the 2015 Quinjet, although technically he's not. For the average LEGO collector, that would be the true case. So that's why I use air quotations, but regardless, it's a really cool minifigure, and in my opinion, especially alongside the new 2025 one, the 2015 is a lot more of a hybrid between the comic books and the movies. The 2025 one has had the benefit of 10 years of LEGO design improvements, and the fact that the movie is already out, so they don't have to work with concept art, so they got the eyes right. The mouth where the cheeks kind of have those circular details in there are really, really great. And of course, the torso armor on the torso front and back is so much more accurate on the 2025, so it's interesting. I still love the 2015 for its own nostalgic charm and the fact that it really blends comic book and movie likeness together, but if we're going for screen accuracy, there can be no doubt that the 2025 here is the absolute clear winner. Both sets actually come with motorcycles, which is pretty interesting. However, both of them are pretty inaccurate, and they're inaccurate in different ways, which is kind of insane. Now, interestingly enough, both use the black chassis and the black cover on the front, the exact same pieces. In fact, they use almost entirely the same pieces, other than the wheel swap change, the colors, and of course, the original having a clip on the back for Cap's shield. Now, the 2015 one is inaccurate because in the movie, Black Widow is actually the one riding the motorcycle, not Captain America, and when Black Widow picks up Cap's shield, she actually attaches it to the front while she's driving. Now, there aren't very many LEGO pieces, if any, that could accommodate clipping the shield to the front, so I get why it's on the back, but even in the movie, there is no Avengers logo that I can discern on the motorcycle, and it's an entirely different body style than what we see here, which is quite odd if you ask me. So, the original 2015 is inaccurate by way of design and who's riding it, and the 2025 is more more accurate in the sense that we got Black Widow, but it doesn't even come with Captain America, so we don't get his shield to put on here, and the body style is still inaccurate to what we see in the movie, so overall, neither one really gains or takes away points from either set, although I do think that there's a play feature in the 2015 one that makes this one shine a little bit more, which we'll get to in just a minute. So both sets come with very different side builds. The 2015 one came with this very interesting truck, which in the movie is technically a tractor trailer. It's a lot bigger than what we get here. But of course, the 2015 one was supposed to be a play set, whereas the 2025 is much more of a display set. So I do think that they both add different value, and some of the play features here are cool. Of course, with Captain America, we get a super jumper, which is a piece. Of course, with the 2015, we get a super jumper, which was a short-lived thing LEGO was adding to sets, which allowed a minifigure to be able to kind of jump. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this in one try, but basically, you push down on this, and you're supposed to, like, launch Captain America up and over the truck to hit Ultron off the roof. Oh, wow, that was a pretty good one. All right, I'm only going to try it one more time. If I don't get it, you'll have to use your imagination. Ah, that was so close. Okay, one more. That was so close. Okay, well, you get the point. You're supposed to flip Captain America up and over and knock Ultron off the back, a little something like that. Then, as you can see, there's a nice truck. Of course, the wheels move and everything. It has the Cho research stickers on the side for, of course, Helen Cho, where she's working on the Vision android body in the film. And the back door's open here, but there's a little tab on the back that you can push open, and it makes the entire back open up. Now, there's also the feature that Vision's cradle can come out of the back after it's exploded, but you could even put the entire truck back together very simply like this, and then we just open the doors and then drop the cradle in like that. Then we can close the doors, a little something like that. I guess I didn't get a perfect alignment, but the point still stands. Then, of course, the cradle fits Vision inside very snugly. It's actually pretty amazing how close he fits in there. Then, of course, we can open it up and take Vision out. That's really cool, and then he can place back in with ease. But yeah, again, this really illustrates that this set was meant to be way more of a play set than a display set, and that was kind of the heart and theme of LEGO Marvel back then. I feel like we've really moved toward it being a display-heavy theme, and I don't know, there's good and bad about that. I've been in the game since this set came out. Well, actually, I've been in the game since 2002, but I got this set new and didn't really see any problems with it. So for somebody like me that's been collecting these sets for 20 plus years, I don't really mind having two different versions, but I'm curious. If you guys like the play or display model, maybe watch the whole video and let me know at the end what you think. Now, the side build for the 2025 model is the display stand itself. We're going to look at the Quinjet in more depth here soon, but of course, I just wanted to show you the display stand where there's studs all around for your minifigures to be able to stand, even J-hooks for Iron Man and Ultron to fly on the side, and Black Widow's motorcycle, so it is a lot more dynamic and posing. And when we actually take a look here, you can see that there's a gear underneath, and that gear allows us to twist and turn the entire Quinjet depending on how you want to display it on your shelf. And again, we're going to look at that Quinjet here in a moment, but that lifts off very easily, and you can see those Technic pins that allow us to remove the Quinjet for play or display value. All right, here we are, the main event, the 2015 Quinjet. This used a dark blue and white color palette, which was very interesting. On the bottom, you can see we had wheels, landing gears that actually move, so that was pretty nice. Then we actually have a couple play features hidden underneath. On this side, we actually have a ball joint stud shooter that can move and be posable. Of course, stud shooter works exactly the way you think it does. It is a little tricky to get completely folded back in underneath, but you kind of get the idea there. And there's actually a rope that can deploy, so you could have a figure like fly into battle holding onto that rope. Then you just kind of need to like fold it and tuck it all back into that opening there. So that's pretty cool. On the side, we have these little wing flaps. There was a big sticker that went on the windscreen here on the 2025 that's actually printed. And of course, I put Black Widow in the flyer seat because we didn't get Hawkeye in this set, and I don't think that Captain America could fly something like this. So, well, maybe he could. We do see him fly the Quinjet in Civil War. But anyways, I just think Black Widow is a better fit. As you can see, we can only fit one minifigure in here, and we did have a sticker for the control panel here. The interior here is not accurate to what we see in the movie at all. But regardless, as you can see, we can open up this flap and we can load the motorcycle in right there. So you load the motorcycle in like that, and there's a very sneaky feature hidden right here on this 2x2, and it drops the motorcycle out like that. So I'll do it again so you can see, but once it's open, of course, you need to close up the hull of the ship and load the motorcycle back into place, and then click this button, and it drops the motorcycle out like that. So that is a cool feature, and it really recreates that scene we see in the movie, which I dig a lot. Over on the side here, this little piece spins underneath here, because I think I actually did this wrong. I think you're actually supposed to hit this and drop that piece out or something, but the play feature doesn't seem to be working. Might just be a, operator error or something like that. When we move it around to the back, we can open the canopies back here for a little bit of interior detail for storage and things like that. We have a wrench and the ever-famous Marvel fire extinguisher that's in a lot of superhero sets, and there's more clips over here for like you could put Black Widow's blasters in there, whatever, but it is nice that we got a little bit of display room. Now that being said, as we move around, there were a lot of stickers. We had stickers on both of the wings, stickers on the sides here, Avengers stickers right there, as well as Stark Industry stickers all around. So yeah, a lot of stickers on this one. And again, I think that this is the superior play model with all of those play features. Of course, we could even fold the wings up and in for parking mode, like we see at various points of Avengers movies. But overall, this is a great set. I've always really liked it. But unfortunately, as we look at the 2025 one, I think this one's going to get left in the dust because there's just so much more value added to the new one. And while this one is great for nostalgia, I just don't think the model holds up as well as the new one. But let's take a look at that now and see if you agree. And here we are with the 2025 model, a completely different color scheme relying on light bluish gray and dark blue, and just so much better in terms of shaping and contouring around the entire ship. Now, we started on the bottom with the original. This one does not have any kind of wheels or landing gears compared to the original, but we do have two very nice pieces here that actually kind of act as like, I don't know what you would call those. They're kind of like landing repulsors, I suppose. The original had stud shooters up top here. The new one has stud shooters hidden on the bottom, which I actually like better because, again, it leaves some play features, but leaves it more of a display model. Then as we move around, you can see we have a lot of stickers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's just counting what we can see right there. There are way more stickers on this one, but I think they're a lot more subtly placed that they mix in and you don't really notice it as much. The wings do fold up and in, and I like that they fold up and in unison. Like they both can only move the exact amount of far, and then they both lock into place on the way down too. That was always something that even when I got my first Quinjet back in 2012, I was like, okay, so how many clicks down do I need to push the wings? I love that it's both done in unison here. On the back, we have turbines, which uses a very interesting pink color inside there, which again, I just think is interesting. It does look good. Just not the piece I would have thought to use, but after rewatching the movie, it's not completely inaccurate, so I dig that. Then we actually have a ramp that can open back here, and crazy enough, we can actually fit the motorcycle from this set into here. Now, it doesn't have the same play and drop feature that the 2015 one has, but I do like the attention to detail that, that motorcycle was in the Quinjet in the movie, so it is cool that this set actually allows you to fit that in there. Now, speaking of the inside, let's go ahead and take a look at that. As mentioned, the windscreen on this one actually is a printed piece, which has printing on the sides and the front, which is absolutely amazing. We do put some stickers right here, but this entire piece lifts off and connects on these 4 studs right there, and that gives us access to the inside, and the back opens up for even more detail. So as we move it around, you can see that there are some stickers up front. Well, just one sticker for the nav for Hawkeye. And one thing I love about this is, of course, Hawkeye is the one piloting the Quinjet in this scene. And the way that the seat is designed, we don't even have to take the quiver off of his back because there's nowhere to store the quiver. So I love that it's designed in a way that the storage is just leaving it on Hawkeye. Over on the sidewalls, you can see we have a schematic sticker here, and we have an Ultron alert sticker on this side using the new design, which is great, as well as 2 seats for 2 Avengers minifigs. I think that they utilize the space very well. Then in the back, you can see we have storage for Black Widow's batons, Hawkeye's bow, and enough room for the motorcycle. But there's also some studs there that you could hypothetically put some minifigs or mock it to add more seats if you wanted, but leaving the set as is, I do love that there's room for that motorcycle. And honestly, my only complaint about this set, and I guess this could also work for the 2015 one, is to me, one of the most iconic scenes with this entire Quinjet is at the end of the film when Hulk uses it to fly off into space. I really wish that either of these sets came with a Hulk minifig that you can also put in the front, but I do understand the minifig choices along both, and as a commenter recently pointed out on my review of this set, technically there is a Hulk minifig in sets right now with the Avengers Marvel logo, so you could put that Hulk in here if it really bothered you that much. It doesn't bother me enough that I even thought about that as an option, but I do think that this is amazing. I mean, look how these pieces are clipped in sideways to help add shaping here. The wings are angled down ever so slightly, and it's just an incredible model all around. I have a lot of nostalgic love for the 2015 one, but there's no doubt that the 2025 one outshines it in just about every aspect of the word. Alright guys, well needless to say, these two models have a lot to offer. I think that the 2015 one made for a much better play set and play opportunity, but the 2025 one is inarguably the better display model, and I think that the minifig selection is pretty interesting too between both of them. I don't really know if I could definitively say there's a clear winner, but I do think that the original in 2015 probably had more versatility, if not the 2025 one being more accurate in what's offered. That being said, I really appreciate you guys checking out today's video, so let me know what you thought of this one, and be sure to hit like and subscribe down below for more LEGO Superheroes content just about every day here on the channel.